All right, so we'll get started, Greg. Good evening. Welcome to the July 7th, 2025 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. Tonight's time is now 7 o'clock. Tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV, and we are holding a live remote meeting via Zoom. Tonight here are members Katie O'Donnell, Nick Papastratis, Fred Monaco, Kevin Cantwell, and I'm Mike Viviano, the chair. Also with us tonight is Greg Guimond, our town planner, and Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'll make a motion to open tonight's public meeting and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Fred Monaco.
Thank you, Fred. Katie?
I'm sorry.
I was going Katie to vote on opening the meeting.
Oh, sorry, it cut out for a second. Do I need a second? Katie O'Donnell.
So we have a second, just need you to vote.
Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you. Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, we got a couple of minutes until our first public hearing, so we're going to start with the A&R for 316 Summer Street. Looks like it's being shared on the screen.
So it's on the screen. You guys can see it.
We can?
316 Summer Street has frontage and area, but there's several things that the property owner should keep in mind when developing the back plan in the future. The property has multiple layers, including the FEMA AE12 inland wetlands zoning. Regular wetlands and riverfront are both through the Conservation Commission. The upland portion of the property rises about 50 feet. Once you go past the house and the outbuildings, it goes up about 50 feet in elevation. And the drainage goes both to the west, south, and east. So you should be cautious when they do any tree removal and stuff because the drainage could potentially flow into the existing house.
Okay, who is this for, Greg?
Sorry?
Who is this for?
It is for Alfred Erickson Jr.
Okay.
And staff recommendation is the board to vote to sign the approval not required plan because it does have proper frontage and it does have proper area.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Nope, I'm all set.
No, not for me.
All right, anybody here from the public have questions? Okay, seeing none, I will make a motion that we approve the A&R as proposed for 316 Summer Street. Is there a second?
Second, Fred Monaco. I second.
Thank you, Fred. Katie?
Looks like we lost Katie for the moment.
We lost her for a minute. Okay, Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Okay, Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, moving on to the A&R plan for 160 Spring Street. I'll have Greg bring that up as well.
Hold on one second, having a little trouble. Okay,
Here we go.
share. And share. Oops, wrong one.
Wrong one.
Oh, close current tab, that's the problem.
Just switch tabs.
Hold on. There we go. Now I gotta share again. All right, can you see it?
We can.
Okay. So right now, the first property is this piece right here. See that dashed line? And then the second larger parcel, what they're doing is they're creating an additional lot in between. It does have proper frontage and proper area. And it is important that the building circle fits in the front as far as staff's concerned because of this little neck down. Where they would like to build a house is in the back. That green line, this is all inland wetland area. So like the previous subdivision, the previous A&R, I would caution when they're constructing, not to cut all the trees in the back and stuff because the area has high water table and drainage problems. And in the back here is Caroline Circle. So there could be potential drainage issues in the future if they clear cut in that area. It does have proper frontage and proper area, so staff recommends that the planning board sign the A&R.
Greg, what was the setback? It looked like it was really close, but the plan's not zoomed in enough for me to see it. To the right property line, the left property line of either property.
So they have the 150.
Can you put the plan back
125
up?
for the frontage, for the new lot, which is the pink lot.
Yeah,
What
can
do
you
you
just pull,
get
can you just pull it back up?
Hold on one second, sorry.
So the pink line, so the house on the left. And we get the new property line in pink. What's that number you're touching right there?
So that's 20 feet right there.
And they
for the
need
side-
15?
For the side. And it's 33 feet for this structure.
How much is the one, is it 20 or 30 to the right side?
The right side's the right side.
The right side's 33.
I apologize. The house on the left to
Yep.
the right property line, is that R1
It's R1,
and needs 20 or 30?
20.
Okay, so it all complies, yep. Just hard to see from here. All right, any questions from the board?
No.
No.
Okay, anyone here from the public for this? All right, seeing no one. Oh, hi Katie, I got you there now. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the A&R for 160 Spring Street. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, let's see. We can move on. We have board reorganization and appointments to other committees for discussion. So,
Didn't know if the board wanted to reorganize or just leave things the way they are, and didn't know if anybody wanted to change, but it's once a year, so we put it on the agenda.
I'm always happy if somebody ever wants to come do this fun Zoom chairman job. Is anyone interested in that, or do you want me to stay?
I think you should stay.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, are there, if nobody's interested in taking it, I'm happy to keep it. It's been working pretty smooth, and who knows how long, we might be back in person, then somebody can jump right in that role and take it over. Greg, what else we have to discuss about this? Are we looking?
It's just, so keep the slate the same.
Yep. Anyone looking to change their role on the board?
No.
Okay,
No.
so keep that the same. Do we need reappointments to the other committees, or can we keep all those the same?
No, it's just if you guys wanted to, change any committees and stuff.
Yeah, Kevin, you're still on a few, right?
Yeah, I'm still on CPC, yep.
Okay.
Well,
Anyone want to be on anything else? I know they're starting a new playground committee if somebody wants to go beyond that.
We don't have anyone on open space anymore. We used to always have someone on that.
Anyone interested in open space? Okay, not at this
I
time.
would do open space if we need to have somebody on open space.
Well, I need to talk to Susan Karen about that, because I know we always had someone on it, but I don't know if it's a required thing, like CPC requires someone from planning.
Yeah,
I thought they changed the quorum on it, because I know that on open space, you used to have like recreation. There was like, I think they combined the quorum, so just like, they used to have more members because they were having trouble getting some, so just check and see. I think you're right. I don't think planning is a spot on there.
So Karen,
Because I think,
I was gonna say, if we're short anywhere and we need somebody on a board, then or commission, why don't we bring it up at another time? You can let us know if we're missing somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, time is 7:11, so we can move on to our continued public hearing of John Sherman Estates, the open space modification, and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Kevin Cantwell.
Thank you, Kevin. Katie,
Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
you voted right, Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Thank you, and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, we're here for Paul Driscoll, right? And Greg.
I'll let Paul jump in if he needs to add in anything. Paul Driscoll and the Larkins have taken care of the deeds to each other with the correction of the open space issue. The planning board, we've had a draft decision for several months now, and we could have, we were missing a couple of members at the last meeting. So the planning board could close the public hearing and you could vote on the draft modification of the decision. Paul Driscoll's had the overall deed for the open space prepared by Bob Barrett's office. Bob Galvin's reviewed it and is okay, so all we need is Paul to sign that. And then we submit it to the select board meeting, which their next meeting is next Monday, for them to vote to accept the open space for the care and custody of the Conservation Commission.
Okay, hey, Karen, can you just, can you mute them? Please. Okay, any questions from the board before we move to do what Greg just mentioned?
State lawmakers are considering it and they're giving the public a chance to weigh in. The Committee on Consumer Protection and Professional Licensure held a public hearing at the State House today.
There we go. Thanks, Karen.
Actually, I got it this time, Mike.
Come on, give Karen the credit. She was looking. All right, so seeing no discussion on that, I'm going to make a motion that we can close it, then vote on it, right?
Yep.
Yep, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for the John Sherman Estates open space modification. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
thank you, and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, now we can take a vote. Has everyone seen the draft decision? Okay. No one has commented, so Greg, you just want to vote on approving the draft decision?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the draft decision as discussed. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell,
Thank you, Katie. Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, so that's all set. Greg, you'll just wait for Paul to get you the signed deed and whatnot and have it turned over to conservation?
Yeah, so Paul will need to sign the deed and then we'll get it submitted to the select board for their meeting on the 14th.
Oh, the selectmen, yep, okay, great. All right, we're gonna move on. Next, I'm gonna make a motion, we open the continued public hearing for the Marshfield Hills Estate and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell,
Thank you, Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye.
Mike, Jeff is here tonight to cover for them.
Okay, great. Hi, Jeff, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great, are you with Greg? Greg
I am.
Marshall?
I'm with Jeff Hassett, civil engineer with Morse Engineering.
Great, thank you.
So I'll go ahead and share my screen, bring up the subdivision plans.
You should be able to share now. Oh, there you go.
Okay. All right, so this is the fourth planning board public hearing for this project. The applicant is Celebrity Realty LLC, and we're seeking a final approval for a 10-lot definitive subdivision. As you likely recall, this property is just under 19 acres in size. It's located in the R1 zoning district, and the proposal is to construct a 1,439 linear foot cul-de-sac road And the roadway provides access to 10 single-family homes. They're all 1 acre lots. And at this point, the project has been approved by the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission, and the ZBA. So the planning board is really our last step in that permitting process. So previously, the plans were reviewed by PGB Engineering, and all of the peer review comments were addressed and satisfied. Since the last time we met, we made 2 minor changes based on the ZBA hearings. They were we eliminated the on-site potable wells, and instead of each lot having a well, we're proposing a traditional water main with hydrants like most subdivisions. And secondly, the grading associated with the stormwater basin, we pulled back from the property line by 10 feet and put a 3-foot tall boulder wall at the toe of some of the grading. So with that said, those were the only outstanding changes. We've addressed all the comments from all the other various boards, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, go over the waivers, or go through the details of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, do you have anything to add before we go over the waivers again?
Yes, and I did, Jeff, I did supply them with the your written waivers list before.
Okay, great.
So as on the staff side, waiver 1 requested the reduction of 2 sidewalks to 1 sidewalk. Staff recommends the granting of this waiver per the board's practice of having funds required to install the second sidewalk be put into the planning board DPW new sidewalk construction fund. And we've had Pat Brennan run an estimate on that, and that's $117,673.15. And our most recent subdivisions, Adelaide and Red Gold Farm, Adelaide paid the funds. Red Gold Farm provided off-site trail and off-site sidewalk improvements for that. Waiver request number 2 is an area of single access. Staff does not agree with the public benefit offered by the applicant for this waiver. In the past, the planning board has granted this waiver when the applicant has provided some on-site or off-site open space. This proposed subdivision will dramatically alter this property with the removal of the majority of the tree cover due to the amount of fill that they have to bring in, and regrading for both the roadway and each house lot. Both Adelaide Way and Red Gold Farm had provided open space and trail connections. Waiver request number 3, enlarging the standard right-of-way cross-section from a 46-foot right-of-way to a 71-foot right-of-way. Planning board is concerned with the maintenance of the multiple walls and wing walls proposed by the submittal. The fill and walls required to get past the wetlands are extensive and severely restricts the opportunity for wildlife to cross through this property. Multiple retaining walls and steep regrading makes access to the town-owned land, which is open space directly to the north, extremely difficult. Staff feels that the applicant should look at the possibility of redesign and the removal of 1 building lot to provide open space and access to this property, to the town land to the north. And what we were looking at was lot 2, and then shifting of the stormwater and lessening the grade in that stormwater lot to get to that town-owned land. Waiver 4, length of dead end from 800 feet to 1,439 feet. Staff does not agree with the public benefit offered by the applicant for this waiver. Waiver request 5, 50-foot buffers around the drainage basins. Staff does not agree with the public benefit offered by the applicant for this waiver. Waiver number 6, retaining walls to be limited to a maximum height of 4 feet. Staff does not agree with the waiver or the public benefit of this waiver offered by the applicant. Waiver number 7, the street trees every 40 feet. While the staff understands the potential concerns with the potential root damage for the filled areas within the retaining wall and the culvert section of the roadway, we don't agree with the public benefit offered by the applicant for this waiver. The majority of the site will lose its tree cover under the proposed development. The trees that would have been planted in this section should be planted somewhere else on the property. Waiver request 8, installation of a 12-inch Cape Cod berm instead of 18-inch. Staff recommends the granting of this waiver and recommends that the board modify the subdivision rules and regs to allow in the future the 12-inch Cape Cod berms to be allowed in streets that are less steep and provide for fewer homes access. So most times now we see 12-inch berms because a lot of the road construction firms do the 12-inch. So that's why the staff is okay with that. Staff feels the applicant should look into the possibility of the redesign and the removal of one building lot to provide open space and access from this property to the town adjacent open space. Staff feels this would allow the board to grant waivers 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. An alternative would be for the applicant to provide possible offsite improvements to the town-owned land to the north with possible on-site easements and access improvements as another alternative. That's it for me, Mike.
Okay, thank you. So Jeff, I know Greg said he sent it over. I haven't had a chance to look at it. The sidewalks is pretty standard for us to waive it on one side and then donate to the sidewalk fund.
Okay.
The single access, what was your, can you just go over your public benefits so everyone can hear those, especially for people who aren't here at this meeting?
Yeah, so the single access was waiver number 2. And basically the regulation says that you can, one single access road can provide access up to 8 homes, and we're proposing 10 homes. The reasoning is that the proposed roadway provides access for 10 dwelling units in total, which is not unusual for single access roadways in the town of Marshfield. We actually put together a list of 14 other roads in town that are longer than 8, that provide 10 or more, that have 10 or more homes on them. And there are no reasonable connection points to connect the proposed roadway to adjacent streets. The roadway is laid out to utilize the upland areas on site in accordance with the 1 acre zone requirements and conservation wetland crossing regulations. Access to lot 1 is available over Main Street, but not desirable. You know, we'd certainly prefer to have the driveway off of the new subdivision road. And also lot 2 has
let me just ask
frontage
you
on
this. So
Main. Yeah.
Jeff, you said, I asked you, what was the public benefit that you had listed? Because I apologize, I don't have the list in front of me.
Okay, so that was the reasoning in our letter. The public benefit is that this waiver provides a public benefit as single-family home development is the primary housing stock type in the town of Marshfield, and the requested waiver allows the most efficient use of the upland areas of the property to provide additional development of single-family homes that are in keeping with adjacent uses in the R1 zone district. While no feasible secondary means of access onto abutting streets is present, a second wetland crossing with additional wetland impacts and increased land clearing would be required and is permissible to comply with this requirement. So we're basically saying that lot 2 could be accessed with a second wetland crossing from Main Street, or there could be a second roadway off Main Street. This is the obvious preferred layout with just one road. It's far less impact.
Okay.
And really, in lot 1 could be accessed off of Main Street, and lot 2 could with a long wetland crossing.
Yeah. So I should just say this, I kind of breezed over 1, but does anyone want to discuss 1 before we now discuss 2? Because I think 1 was an easy one. Okay, so no one needs to discuss 1. So let's discuss number 2 right now. You know, I'm in favor of granting that and only having the 1 crossing over the wetlands, but let's all have a little talk about that so we can see what directions that's going. Anyone from the board have any comments about denying?
I have
granting
my
it?
concerns about number 2 as well. Like you mentioned that there were like 14 other roads in Marshfield, and I was just curious if you could share that list as I think about it, just because I think it links to the other waiver too of extending the dead end road length. And this is one that I've raised with other developments as well, that when the road is just being extended for additional frontage for additional lots, you know, instead of like being extended because it'll match the topography of the site better or something like that. I'm concerned that with the topography of this site, with like the other waivers with the retaining walls and everything, this is a unique site that with only the single point access, I do have concerns about.
So you kind of linked two of them in there. You linked that one along with the length of street, which is
Yeah, which I
number
think was
4.
waiver number 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about number 4 several times, and you know, when I think it was day one when I started this board, however many years ago it was, I said, where does this come from? Where does our length of dead end road come from? And originally it was apparently from whoever the fire chief was back then, and they said to us, that's how far our longest hose could go if a tree falls over the road. And we no longer have trees on any of our roads; they're all getting clear cut. So, you know, I have less of a worry about 4 with a dead end length. I'd like to see that get bumped up because we are continuously allowing roads longer than that.
I'd still disagree with that, Mike. Like, we still have trees come down in Marshfield. And I know that the proposal here is to clear cut everything and not plant any street trees, which
Yep.
I also disagree with.
So this is a unique property in that the wetlands are up close to Main Street. So you have to get to the back of the property where the good upland is to develop. The trees are only being removed through that crossing, you know, directly within the layout of the roadway. All the trees immediately beyond the right of way will remain. And we are proposing street trees throughout the development, just not right at the wetland crossing, because they would be, you know, 2 feet off a retaining wall, which over time it would compromise that wall. So that was actually a recommendation of the peer review consultant to do away with the street trees just in that one location where the wall is.
Well, we'll get down to that one too. So
Okay.
let's stick with number 2. We kind of jumped between 2 and 4 there. Anyone else on the board have a strong opinion one way or the other?
Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, can you guys not hear me well?
I mean,
We can hear
Okay.
go ahead.
So I was just saying, does anyone have a strong opinion one way or another about a single access further than what we allow in our regulations? That's what number 2 is all about. We're not going to vote on that right now, but just for discussion, just to hear what everyone has to say.
you. Yeah, I don't have an issue with the single access personally.
Okay. All right. So
One point on the single access is it used to be 600 feet. We did make it 800 feet a few years ago. So
yeah, I think we compromised down for my 1,400 foot when we tried. But so okay, so we can move on. Again, it's not a vote right now, just a discussion. Number 3 was the right of way. Greg, can you explain that one to us? They're making the right of way larger than normal.
yes, because of the retaining walls and stuff where it crosses the wetlands.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can
So I don't-
give you a little more detail on that. So the
Jeff, go ahead.
standard right of way is 46 feet wide, and at the crossing, we're widening the paper right of way to 71 feet, just to give you a room around those retaining walls to build them and maintain them in the future.
And
And
Jeff,
that was the
what's the height
recommendation
of the
to do it.
retaining walls?
What's that?
What's the height of your retaining walls?
So the retaining walls are the maximum of 10 feet tall at the highest point, and that's, you know, we'll talk. Do you want me to talk about the height now on those? The reasoning for them is that, you know, it's a low point in the road, so that you're not coming into that low point at a steep slope and then coming out at a steep slope. Also, for the wetland crossing, we're not just doing like a RCP pipe as a culvert. We're doing an open box culvert, and we've designed that to the DEP stream crossing standards, which has a width and area requirement based on how long it is and the bank. And basically, the height of that culvert is 4 feet tall to provide headroom for wildlife going underneath it. So you picture the opening 4 feet, the top of the concrete structure is a foot, you need a couple feet on top of that. So this really, I mean, we might be able to lower those walls by a foot if we look into it, but it's not going to be significant. Just with that wetland crossing, you need that headroom for the walls. right where it crosses.
Thank you for that explanation. Anyone have discussion? I'd be in favor of that waiver. It does seem to make sense.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. We can move on to number 4, which again, we're gonna go right back to dead end length of road. Greg, we allow 800, and this one's just over 1,000, is it?
1,439 feet,
So it's 1,400 or 1,040?
1,439 feet.
Okay, so 1,400, almost 1,500. So that's one for the board to think about, whichever side of that discussion you're on. We're gonna have to vote on that. Number 5 would be there was a 50-foot buffer between where?
Around the drainage basins.
Okay. Jeff, you want to explain that one?
Sure. So the requirement is to have a 50-foot buffer from abutting uses to stormwater basins. Our stormwater basin is located here. The abutting property is owned by the town of Marshfield. It's wooded. It's unlikely to ever be developed in the future. And there's greater than a 50-foot buffer to any of the adjacent properties. This is the one abutter at 1877, and the tree line is here. So there is a vegetated buffer to any, developed uses. And it's unlikely that this property would ever be developed in the future. And it's thickly wooded. This is a waiver that is routinely approved on other subdivisions.
Are you just running into this waiver issue because of the lot line? Is that why?
No, that's a good question. It has to do with, we have to cross a wetland at the narrowest point, which is here. So it leaves limited space for the basin.
Okay.
And yes, it's 50 feet to the lot line, if that was a question.
So there is just 50 feet to the lot line there?
We have a 10-foot buffer to the lot line.
Okay.
So
That's
from
what
the bottom of the grading.
White strip is?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Lot 10
I mean,
is
we certainly could vegetate that slope. We could add evergreens along there.
Greg, would some kind of, short 3-foot fence help that at all?
That's something for the board to consider. Lot 10 does not have part of 50-foot buffer either to that detention basin.
Is that the one just the left of what we're looking at?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So they're gonna have a yard and a driveway right to the top of a steep slope there?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Jeff, you're gonna definitely want to propose something between that and that driveway there. It's right on top of it.
Yeah, it is a 3-to-1 slope, which can be mowed, but yeah, we could do some landscaping or a fence or something there. Absolutely.
Yeah, still steep enough for
a
car to back out too far and tumble down. At least they have to hit the fence first if that happens. Okay, so keep that one in mind. Any discussion from the board on the 50-foot buffer one?
No, I agree with staff.
Nope.
Okay, staff was a no on that, right? Okay. Number 6 was retaining walls.
Yep, 4 foot high versus the 10 feet.
Is this just in that crossing?
Correct.
Okay. You've already explained to us why that would be required. Anyone have any discussion on that one at all?
No.
I guess just in general with retaining walls. Sorry, Nick, were you talking?
I was just gonna say, I don't have an issue with it. I think given if you reduce the wall height, you're increasing the slope and transition of the road, right?
Correct. Yep.
I guess my question with retaining walls is like more general, like as we're seeing more retaining walls in town. And I was thinking about this like with discussion at our last meeting is just the maintenance of them and making sure that the homeowners understand that they will be responsible for maintaining the retaining walls as well. Like it's one thing, like if your road kind of degrades over time, right? And then you're driving over a bumpier road and stuff, but like the retaining walls. And so that's more of a general, not as specific to this, but I do have concerns about going over 4 feet and retaining walls and concerns about them being maintained in the future. And at what point they begin to fail and require maintenance and how dangerous they could be at that point.
Jeff, what is a lifespan of a retaining wall such as this?
We can certainly get you more information on that. I don't know off the top of my head. It certainly would be part of the HOA, and there'd be money set aside for the funding of that.
Well, there'd be money if the HOA does the right thing and sets money aside.
Right.
Okay, which has not been happening very well.
I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, I'd have to give you, I'd have to look into it, honestly. The walls greater than 4 feet tall are designed by a structural engineer, and they require building permits.
Okay.
And Jeff, just confirming the notes here, that is in fact a 12-inch wide concrete retaining wall cast in place.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So I mean, I wouldn't expect there to ever be any maintenance to that, honestly, but it's just like a foundation wall. But I can do some research.
It's a foundation wall in a wetland in a wet area. So that's
yeah, I mean, a lot of house foundations, the footings go down into the groundwater.
Yep. Well, it's just a question, and if you can answer the next meeting, that'd be helpful.
Certainly.
Move on to number 7, if there's nothing else about the retaining wall height. So I think the street trees that you're choosing or asking not to plant, it makes sense in the area you're talking about, but it should either be, show them relocated on the property somewhere, or I believe we still have a tree donation fund we can donate to. I don't know who our tree warden is. It's not Barry anymore. So who's that, Greg?
That's either the tree fund or relocation elsewhere in the subdivision's fine.
Yeah, who's the town's tree warden right now?
Well, it's our superintendent of public works.
Okay.
Which is Sean Patterson.
All right, so Jeff, maybe you can send him a email and, see if he can be agreeable to accepting a donation for these. How many trees are you skipping? 30 or so?
I don't have the number. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Mike, I would say though, the tree fund, it's the planning board's decision to donate to it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's still like active and they're doing something with it.
Well, it is still active and there is money in it, but we can make recommendations on how they use it.
Okay. I just don't remember the last time we spoke about the tree fund, that's all. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 8 would be the last one. That would be the 12-inch berm instead of the 18-inch. I think Greg gave a pretty good explanation of why we do that now, standard. Any questions on that one at all? Okay, so we don't have any. So I think you got a little work. I think you got a little work to do with the waivers. I think number 1, sidewalks. Where we're going with that, with the donation. The single access may be a concern to at least one, if not a few, of the board members. So maybe take some of the staff's recommendations into play if you can for the next meeting.
Okay.
I would say that for just about all of them. If you could, if you guys want to change anything before we go and vote on these, now is the time to come to us with what, you've heard our feedback, you've heard the staff's suggestions, and we can probably vote on them very shortly.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Anything else on the board you guys want to add at all?
I agree with you, Mike.
Okay. All right, so Jeff, I think you got a few things there.
Yeah. So when is your next meeting?
July 21st or August 4th.
Why don't we shoot for the July 21st, if that's okay with you? And in the meantime, I'll talk to Greg about the comments and the applicant as well, and we'll get back to you on them.
Okay, that'd be fine. Greg Guimond, is there other things tonight except for the waivers to discuss?
The water line, I know it was talked about putting in the water line. We did receive, Paul Duras said that he prefers a ductile line coming from Highland Street down Main Street and then connecting into the PVC pipe as well. So there'd be a loop. And that's what the water department, where their concerns are. That would be a condition that the planning board could potentially put on the decision.
Okay, did you hear that one, Jeff?
Yeah, can you say that again, actually?
So Paul Duras from the water department does not like extending the, is it 6-inch PVC pipe through easements. He wants it down Main Street with
Oh, okay.
ductile pipe, and that would then make a loop for the water system and relieve pressure on that 6-inch PVC pipe.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna look into that.
That's what the water department has asked for the planning board to require.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Anything else? Greg?
Nope, that's
Okay.
it.
If you have anything else, you have any more questions, you can hopefully come back one more time and see how it goes.
All right, I appreciate it. Appreciate all the comments, and yeah, we'll digest them and see what we can come up with for the 21st.
Okay, appreciate it. Last comments from the board at all?
No.
Okay, don't see any. All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we continue this until July 21st, 2025 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, so I believe we just have, there's no minutes to do, so board staff report.
I don't have anything. Karen, do you have anything?
No,
Oh, do we need to sign the new reorganization if it stays the same?
If it stays the same, we don't have to file with the registry of deeds or anything, so that saves us a little money.
Just save 77.
well, we will, if we get a new associate member, have to refile.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Are we advertising that at all, or how are we doing that?
We have not advertised in the newspaper or anything. I will double check to make sure that the selectmen on their open list of positions, I believe it is, but I will double check to make sure it's on there.
Does MCTV put up an open listing
They
on the
use,
government
I
channel?
don't know if, I think they usually take it from the selectmen and that's what they wrote, that's what they show on the screen.
Okay, so we'll just make
But
sure.
we'll
the
double
selectmen
check
know it's open.
tomorrow.
Great.
And it's possible we do still have to do the signatures. We need to check and see how long they can be valid for.
Great.
Okay, that's fine. Let us know.
And we did wrap up the CCM and we got all our invoices and stuff for the beach nourishment, so.
Great.
That's done.
Anything from the board members at all?
Nope.
No. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Greg, Karen. I'll make a motion that we conclude tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.